SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
For any of your garage door needs, such as purchase, install, or service and repairs, Harold's Garage Doors is your one-stop shop in North Mississippi. Don't let a faulty garage door disrupt your day. Call Harold's Garage Doors today at 662-223-0748.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said,
not gonna lie to you, not right out of the gate. When that alarm goes off at about 4:35, 4:40, it's not my favorite thing. Not my absolute favorite thing. But then I get up, get a shower, get dressed, get a little coffee, fry up a little sausage for a sausage biscuit, have another cup of coffee, and then at 6 o'clock, it's time to roll. And what a great feeling when we go live with you on Mornings with Richard Cross. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. Weekend just around the corner. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I am Richard Cross, and we are happy to be with you. Lance, I don't love it when that alarm first goes off, but once I get up and stirring a little bit, it's a good feeling to be up and going in the morning.
Well, I mean, if you're frying sausage and having coffee, the motor gets running quick. You know,
It
that
really
smell,
does.
once you smell it, that's always something strong in the morning to me is the olfactory sensory, you know.
Jane told me yesterday, she's like, I don't love the smell. I've decided I don't love the smell of sausage. I'm like, while it's frying? She's like, no. She's like, I don't mind it while it's frying. She's like, it lingers, though.
Yeah, it hangs, the greasy hang around.
I said, yeah, it does kind of linger a little bit. I was like, does that mean you need me to stop cooking sausage at 5:30 in the morning? She's like, no, I'm not going to ask you to do that. I was like, okay, good.
She's a sport, huh? Yeah.
Team player,
Team
no
playing.
doubt. The C Spire text line is open to you at 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire. Find them online at cspire.com/business. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, friends, I hope you found a way yesterday at some point during the day to get outside and spend just a few minutes, because it was as glorious a day as we've had in a long time. Depending on where you were in the state of Mississippi, somewhere between about 70 and 80 for a high yesterday. Sunshine, gorgeous skies last night, at least over North Mississippi there were. And it's going to be pretty good again today. Not quite as warm today, but you're still going to be mid to upper 60s, maybe the low 70s. Going to have a lot of sunshine today. Spring's close, man. It's really, really close. I was looking at the 10-day forecast, and, you know, it's not 70 every day, but it's not too bad. You got a few days that it still ducks down into the 50s, but mostly highs in the 60s and 70s for the next couple of weeks, and that is going to be fantastic. Fun time of the year, Lance. Everything starts to blow. All right, so you are a little farther south.
Oh, yeah.
And I always like this time of year. In fact, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, final basketball game of the regular season, I'm in Baton Rouge. And so I'll make that drive south down 55, and things in North Mississippi still aren't quite in bloom yet.
Yeah.
But the farther south you get, the greener it gets, and it's like, man, it's coming. It is on the way. Are things starting to pop in Jackson yet?
Nah, not quite, but you're getting some green. The strawberries around the corner, right? Tomatoes will be coming before, but you're planting everything that you want to eat later. But the budding stuff like roses, yeah, you'll start seeing them really, really soon. And, all the nurseries start getting, beautiful colors, and everybody starts planting. So it's that time of year. I love the South even further from here when you get close to the coast, because everything's already kind of going. It gives you a good look into the future.
Oh, and on that drive south, it's about Macomb where it really starts to get green a little bit earlier than it does
You got that right.
north of that point.
There's something about that zone, and Garden Mama talks about it. You can grow anything down there. From Mobile, New Orleans, up to Macomb, Hattiesburg, that zone, and it's extremely fertile, get great sunlight, and the weather's just more temperate and ready to go earlier. So, and you don't have the coldest winters usually, but this year, obviously, the snow hit the beach. So
my buddy Keith sent me a message. He said, it's funny, I actually had started to ask you how you like the earlier morning, especially in the dark. I love it.
Yeah,
but it just takes a minute. Yeah. It just takes a minute. Once I'm up, though, I'm great. I don't love that alarm going off. Once I'm up, it's great. CC in Senatobia says it was glorious all the way up until tip-off last night. I think he's talking about Ole Miss basketball. We'll get to that in a bit. Yeah. Jeff in Grady says everyone ought to get up at 4:30 a.m. every day. I got a buddy. Yeah. I got a buddy, and he says it's the 4 a.m. club.
I don't mind it. You get a lot done before 8 o'clock. That's the beautiful thing of it. Then you kind of run out of juice a little bit later on. You got to rejigger, get ready to go again.
If you can find you a little 20, 30-minute power nap somewhere along the way.
Right there.
Maybe the key.
The sunshine helps. The winter has been rough because it's so dark when you get up, and then it's dark so early, and it's just depressing a little bit, especially when you're getting up in the dark, work in a building, and then you go out, and then it's about time to go to bed. So I think it's very inspiring to see the sunshine and the greenery and the blooms. I love it.
Jason in Starkville, speaking the Lord's words on the C Spire text line this morning to men and women and boys and girls all over the state of Mississippi. You know what he says? Really simple, just a 3-word text. He says, turkeys are gobbling.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't even thought about it yet.
Are you a turkey hunter?
I don't get a chance to do it much, but
Not
down here
often.
in this area is great. And you got some great turkey hunting up in North Mississippi. I would always see them on the route to New Albany, just a whole gaggle of them everywhere.
They are everywhere.
But yeah, we have a bunch around here, and have some in our. When we don't get floods in the Delta, you do get a good number. So I'm looking forward to it this year because I've seen a bunch of turkeys. I think I shot you an image of a friend of mine that was in one of the deer stands on my field, and 30 hens out there. So you don't see that too often when the floods are here. But
yeah, it's funny. It's a whole bunch more hens than gobblers.
Oh yeah,
you see out
they're
there.
smart.
Like, what if that were a field full of gobblers out there? It's close though. Not this weekend, but next weekend is when Youth Week begins, and then you roll into turkey season. And those folks that are diehards, they get up and at it just about every morning during turkey season. All right, we got some birthdays today. 1902, Gene Sarazen, 7-time major winner, the first and one of just 5 players ever to win the modern career Grand Slam. That's the U.S. Open. Well, let's do it in order. It's the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship for the British Open. He was later joined by Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. Now, before any of those guys won the career Grand Slam, the great Bobby Jones won the career Grand Slam, but it was made up differently at the time. Remember, he is the guy that is responsible for starting the Masters. He and a group of investors built the Augusta National Golf Club in Athens, or not Athens, excuse me, in Augusta, Georgia. And it was, at the time, it was the U.S. Open, the U.S. Amateur, the Open Championship, again, the British Open, and the British Amateur at the time. And it was quite the accomplishment when he did it. Gene Sarazen hit the shot heard round the world. Augusta National Golf Club on the 15th hole. That is a par 5. It was in the final round of the Masters in 1935. He struck a spoon, which would be kind of a modern-day 4-wood, 232 yards, and he dunked it into the hole. A double eagle. At the time, he was trailing Craig Wood by 3 shots and was then tied with him. He parred 16, 17, and 18 to preserve the tie. Following day, the pair played a 36-hole playoff. Sarazen won by 5 shots. Also born in 1902, one of the greatest writers of all time, many would say, winner of a Pulitzer Prize for fiction and a Nobel Prize in literature, John Steinbeck. Books like East of Eden, Cannery Row, and The Grapes of Wrath, which was published during the Great Depression. Contemporary setting, describing a family of sharecroppers, the Jodes, who were driven from their land by the dust storms of the Dust Bowl. Title referencing the battle hymn of the Republic. Just a pretty incredible author.
It's so easy to read. John Steinbeck, I mean, you could just pick up anything and just roll through it. It's just absolutely some of the easiest stuff to read, very descriptive, and a master of the language. I love his work. Absolutely.
You got one more birthday?
I got one for us.
All right.
Quick here, make sure I'm on the right playlist here. Who do you think this may be?
All right.
That's the WKRP. And Howard Hessman,
love it.
85 years old he would have been, passed in 2022. One of the most iconic shows of all time. The Turkey Drop, one of the best things of all time.
Do you guys happen to know when daylight savings time begins? Absolutely, we know the answer to that question. It is 1 week from this Saturday. So Saturday night, March 8th, rolling into Sunday morning, March 9th. You will spring forward an hour on the clocks. No, we still haven't made that a law. Maybe we should, but we haven't yet. News headlines coming up. Glad to be with you this morning. This is MRC Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be. Just maybe think of me once in a while. I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati.
From the Venable Glass.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
C-Spire text line is open to you this morning at 601-879-4395. Ron in Ocean Springs says, good morning. Good morning to you as well, Ron. He also sends us a little meme. He says, just shot my first Thanksgiving turkey. Scared the heck out of everyone in the frozen food section, though. Well played.
Nice.
Well played, Ron. A search of a Mississippi Gulf Coast concrete business by federal immigration authorities resulted in nearly 20 immigrant workers being detained. Per a release from ICE, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Group, law enforcement department's agents collaborated with U.S. Border Patrol's Gulfport Station and the local Drug Enforcement Administration to conduct a worksite enforcement operation at Gulf Coast Press Tress Partners in Pass Christian. It actually turned into kind of a wild scene. A notice of inspection and immigration subpoena were served to the business by federal authorities. While delivering the paperwork and interviewing employees, agents report observing a large group of people running from the back of the property. And so the chase began. In total, agents apprehended 18 total fleeing individuals. After an investigation, the individuals were found to be from Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. 2 of the 18 had immigration court dates and work authorization, prompting law enforcement to release them from custody. There was a 16-year-old that was taken into custody who was here illegally as well. When it was all said and done, about a dozen were held, I think was the number. So, you've got that. Dismissed with prejudice. That means court case dismissed and cannot be brought again. Hinds County Chancellor Crystal Wise Martin entered an order late yesterday, vacating her previous order, granting temporary restraining order and setting a hearing for preliminary injunction in the case of the City of Clarksdale versus Delta Press Publishing and others, and dismissed the case with prejudice. Now, I'm sure you remember this story from last week. The City of Clarksdale sought a temporary restraining order to remove an online editorial published by the Clarksdale Press Register, and they filed the complaint in Hinds County, and there was an ex parte hearing, which means there was no opportunity for the defendant to defend themselves, to tell their side of the story. And it got kind of weird. We thought, and perhaps many of you did as well, that it was an unconstitutional ruling. There was a free speech concern. There was a freedom of the press concern. And in the order of dismissal, the Chancellor Martin, decided that she needed to explain why and what a TRO did. Kind of really outlined what it meant. The purpose of a temporary restraining order, she wrote, is to provide temporary short-term relief until full and final action can be taken in a matter. An application for a TRO, or a preliminary injunction, involves no final determination on the merits. She cited a couple of Mississippi court cases that back this up. A TRO may issue, among other reasons, to preserve the court's power to render a meaningful decision on the merits. She says a court may issue a TRO or a preliminary injunction even though a petitioner's rights to relief is uncertain. Further, a TRO may be issued where immediate and irreparable injury, loss, or damage will result before such a time as a formal hearing on the matter can be held. I'm just going to be honest with you. I have not read enough court filings about temporary restraining orders to know if that is common language in a TRO, either especially a TRO dismissal. But that read to me like justification for what seemed at the time and seems even today like an awful ruling. It's hard to see that there were any grounds based on the editorial that we read to you a week ago to grant this temporary restraining order. And it's a big part of the reason that the city of Clarksdale backed off, and they asked for the case to be dismissed. And Wyatt Emmerich and Delta Publishing, the Clarksdale Press Register, were set to argue this case today in Hinds County. But that is not happening now. The Trump administration said that it is going to eliminate more than 90% of the USAID foreign aid contracts and $60 billion in overall U.S. assistance around the world, putting numbers on its plans to eliminate the majority of U.S. development and humanitarian help abroad. The cuts detailed by the administration would leave a few surviving USAID projects for advocates to try and save in what are ongoing court battles with the administration. The Trump administration outlined its plans in both an internal memo obtained by the Associated Press and in filings in one of those federal lawsuits yesterday. The Supreme Court intervened in that case late last night and temporarily blocked a court order requiring the administration to release billions of dollars in foreign aid by midnight. Now, if you don't remember what we're talking about there, one of the judges that is playing a role in these lawsuits that are being filed all over the country ordered that the money had to continue to flow. And the Supreme Court said, no, we're going to pause that and allow time for this to continue to be looked at. Wednesday's disclosures also give an idea of the scale of this administration's retreat from USAID and development assistance overseas, and from decades of U.S. policy that foreign aid helps U.S. interests by stabilizing other countries and economies and building alliances. Bottom line in all of this is the United States can't afford it right now. And while some of the programs that fell under USAID were noble, many of them were wasteful. And we are continuing to learn as we get more information on what was in USAID, that a lot of the money was being redirected to causes from the left. In fact, there was a story that came out yesterday that points to the idea that many of the dollars that were being spent were being redirected ultimately, indirectly, to George Soros. So George Soros has gotten a whole lot of credit for putting liberal district attorneys in all over the place, that has led to tons and tons of releases and light sentences for criminals across the country. And people on the left especially were looking and were saying, oh, what an incredible thing that George Soros is doing. With his billions and billions of dollars, he is funding these initiatives. Turns out, it appears that you were funding the initiatives. Lance, you were funding the initiatives. I was funding the initiatives indirectly. Your tax dollars partially funding USAID with very little oversight, redirecting those funds in a lot of cases to NGOs. And then it was kind of hard to see where the money went. They were trying to unpack that. And the results, not particularly appetizing if you don't agree with the idea of putting in a bunch of liberal, light-handed district attorneys who were willing to put criminals back on the street, or in some cases not even charge them. Another executive order from Donald Trump, this time on behalf of Doge. Trump has signed an executive order meant to expand the power and the reach of his governmental cost-cutting effort led by Elon Musk. The lengthy order directs federal agencies to develop new systems for distributing and justifying payments so they could be monitored by Doge. It also limits federal employee travel, freezes most agency credit cards unless they're used for disaster relief or supervisors, create an exception. The order intends a transformation in federal spending on contracts, grants, and loads. It says it's meant to make such transactions transparent and that government employees are accountable to the American people. Which doesn't really sound like a terrible thing, does it? I don't think so. Where's the money going? Just let us know. In a lot of cases, it is our money. And finally, two-time Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog were found dead yesterday in their Santa Fe home in New Mexico. Foul play not suspected, but no release of circumstances of their deaths at this time. Hackman was 95 years old. His wife, Betsy Arakawa, was 63, and their dog, I don't know the age of the dog, but all three passed away. What could that be? Is that like a carbon monoxide issue and everybody just fell asleep and didn't wake up?
That's the first thing I was thinking.
We got some sports headlines coming up for you on the other side of this timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the day with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And the Tallahachis. Good stuff. New album out. That's worth a download or a purchase.
Oh, definitely. Great guys, too. Absolutely great guys. Great performers.
Big time. Big time. I don't know if I'd avoided disaster or not.
You got close to having a disaster.
Yeah, I know. I was getting up. I was going to refill my coffee cup, but I had a big Proud Larry's cup of water. You know those big 32-ounce plastic cups they got?
Yeah, the ones you got to keep.
Brother, I hit that thing with a swinging arm, and I didn't know water could go so many places. Computers, keyboards, earbuds, floor, me. Jeez. It was a small disaster during the break there, but hey, we're with you. We're glad to be with you this morning as well. Let's start with an incredible accomplishment in our sports headlines. The William Carey Lady Crusaders basketball team slides into postseason play without a blemish on their win-loss record. For the first time in school history, a Crusader team has run the table in the regular season, and it's the first time that it's happened in a decade in the Southern States Athletics Conference. It took a double-digit comeback effort in the final regular season game against Loyola New Orleans, 72-67, to complete the accomplishment. On their race to a 25-0 record, 16-0 in conference play, the Lady Crusaders won 6 games by 5 or fewer points. They now move into the playoffs. What an accomplishment. 25-0 for the William Carey Lady Crusaders.
And then they
How
got
cool is that?
Yeah, and then they got Blue Mountain U, baby. Mississippi, great little school up there. Loved going up there. Baseball program I got to have a little bit to do with up there at the Blue Mountain. And they got them at the multiplex at the Crampton Bowl, 12:30.
That's awesome.
Yeah, over in Montgomery, Alabama.
No,
but what an accomplishment. Not only are they kicking butt in basketball, ladies, but the baseball program last year was amazing. So, they're a great university to keep our eye on. And with baseball season coming, they may be able to keep up that momentum some because they always have an amazing team.
Yeah. I just got a message on the C Spire text line that says, "You break it, you buy it." I was trying to figure out if that was one of our bosses that was texting in this morning. I don't have that number saved in my phone, so, but yeah, well,
burner phone.
Yeah, that's maybe the case. Hoops last night. There were a couple of incredible games. The late games in the SEC, really 3 of the 4 games last night that were played in the SEC were outstanding. However, if you were an Ole Miss fan, the Rebels game was not one of them. Number 1 Auburn looked like it. They jumped out to a 15-7 lead. They increased that lead to 31-15, I think it was. Scored 50 in the first half. But, oh, man, you score 50 in the first half, you're going to cool off in the second half, right? You're not going to be able to shoot it at that kind of a clip for the entire game. Wrong. 56 second-half points en route to a 30-point win last night. Number 1 Auburn moved to 26-2 overall, 14-1 in Southeastern Conference play with the win over Ole Miss, who fell to 8-7 in the league, 19-9 overall. 106-76 was the final. Janai Broom led the way for Auburn with 24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. He was 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Auburn as a team shot 33 free throws. They were 27 of 30. Listen to these numbers. 60% from the field. 52% from behind the arc, 11 of 21. 82% from the free throw line. Plus 13 on the boards, including 10 offensive rebounds. Chad Baker-Mazara had 22. Denver Jones had 13. Miles Kelly had 13. Chaney Johnson had 13. An absolute dominant performance last night. Ole Miss had 5 players in double figures, but way too little. 14 from Sean Padula, 11 from Malik Dia, 12 from Matthew Morrell, 12 from Dre Davis, 13 for Jamin Brakefield off the bench. But
maybe if Auburn would have been playing barefoot, that might have slowed them down a bit, but I doubt it. That's how good they are.
They're really, really good. And they've got maybe the best environment in their home arena, Neville Arena, in all of college basketball. So, an impressive win for the Auburn Tigers, and a tough loss for Ole Miss. Ole Miss back at home on Saturday. They will host an Oklahoma team that lost an absolute heartbreaker last night to Kentucky, 83-82. Oklahoma hit a couple of free throws with about 20 seconds left to go up by 1. They were ahead 82-81. And then Kentucky went down, and really a tough contested shot. Banked it in with about 6 seconds left, and Kentucky wins at 83-82. They also got a defensive stop on the other end of the floor, a block of the phenomenal freshman Jeremiah Fears, and that ended the ballgame. So Kentucky wins on the road 83-82. Arkansas needed overtime. They led, Texas led 3-0 to start the game. And then Texas didn't take a lead until just a couple of minutes left in the game. They ultimately forced overtime. Arkansas outscored them in the extra 5 minutes, and they won 86-81 over Texas. And Vanderbilt, who beat Ole Miss this past Saturday in Nashville, goes on the road, and they get a win against number 12 Texas A&M, 86-84. You want a number that will make you kind of throw up in your mouth a little bit? A combined 75 free throws in the game. That's just gross. 36 free throw attempts for Vanderbilt, 39 free throw attempts for Texas A&M. But it's Vandy that gets a huge road win. Vanderbilt moving toward an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. It's been a while. First-year head coach there, and he's trying to get them to the dance. Baseball coming up this weekend. Mississippi State is on the road in the state of Texas. They're going to play in the Astros Foundation College Classic. Their first game on Friday morning, first pitch just after 11 a.m., is with the Rice Owls. Then they will take on Arizona on Saturday afternoon, and they'll wrap it up on Sunday afternoon against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So Mississippi State on the road this weekend, playing in one of those neutral site tournaments in a stadium with a roof. Ole Miss is at home this weekend. They traveled the first weekend, been at home the last couple. And Southern Miss going on the road to the state of Texas, not for a tournament, but rather for a 3-game series with a really good team. They are at TCU, so headed down to Fort Worth this weekend, and really good stuff there.
I don't want to interject too much here, but
please feel free.
William Carey baseball, no-hitter for Corey Cook. 7 innings, just blew him away. So that's a
fantastic,
big time. Anytime you get a no-no, it's always one of those things that you never forget as a pitcher. Doesn't happen enough for us, but congratulations, Corey. What a ball game.
Yeah, but it's such a big deal because it doesn't happen very often.
As I was saying,
kind of hard to do.
Never forget those. And in college, they're few and far between. I don't care what level you're playing at.
You ever throw a no-no?
Yeah, I threw some. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it was so long ago.
Oh, don't lie. You remember when you threw a no-hitter?
Well, I mean, back in the day. I mean, I don't. Honestly, 30 years ago, that's so far in the past, man. I don't hold on to that stuff. I just move forward, baby.
Did you have one at the high school level?
Oh, a bunch, yeah.
Really?
Of those, yeah. Bunch of them. I never
you
really kept up with that stuff.
Hold on a second. The nonchalance with which you just said, oh, yeah, I had a bunch of no-hitters in high school. When you say a bunch, are we talking like 3?
Probably more than that. I mean, you lose count after
10?
a while. And that probably
nobody loses count of a no-hitter.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
if I had a no-hitter when I was 9 years old, I would be able to tell you about it today.
That stuff was, I wasn't big on trophies. I like moving forward, man. Once it was over, it was over.
Did you have one in college?
Yeah, I had a couple, I think, in college. Maybe one or two. I don't like
complete game or combined.
Well, I threw a lot of complete games, but I'd have to go back and look. It's just I'm not a statsy person on myself.
I don't believe you, Lance. I really
never
believe you
enjoyed that
threw
stuff.
a no-hitter in college baseball and you don't remember it.
Well, I mean, one of the ones I do remember is going down to Florida. They were number 4 and throwing a complete game and beating them. We weren't, we weren't great. We were a good team at Ole Miss, but going down there, and I think I gave up a few hits in that one, but it was one of those long heavyweight battles against some really good players. But yeah, I don't remember all that stuff, honestly. I just kind of put it away. Once ball was over, I was kind of aggravated that I didn't make it to where I wanted to be. So you just kind of rinse and repeat and move on.
And where you wanted to be was the show, right?
I wanted to be
every little boy's.
No, I wanted to be the best there ever was, not the show. The best ever. Period.
Well, okay. The show wouldn't have been a bad second place prize.
I'm about to run you into a break. I'm sorry.
We'll be back.
From the Venable.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Senior right-hander Lance Tolbert has gone the distance in each of his last 4 starts. He scattered 10 hits, walked 1, and tied a career high with 6 strikeouts while tossing a complete game in his last start, a 7-1 win over Georgia last Friday. Tolbert leads the SEC with 6 complete games. He's 5-5 with a 3.84 ERA.
Live bat era, too. I will say that. I will brag about that because the era I played in was a little lit up.
It was not pitcher-friendly.
It was a little lit up, yeah. No brags, though. Trust me, guys. I when you don't accomplish what you want, you don't brag. You put it aside and move on. So, but I played for a couple of years with bone chips in my elbow, and I just kind of gritted through it, So when my time came to move on, I had an opportunity, but I was in too much pain to go, So I just went to work, man, Regretted it my whole life, but regrets, you carry them with you, and the way I look at it, it always motivates you to don't look back and regret again. So
yeah. I don't know. You've done some pretty cool things. I can't imagine that the list of regrets is just super long for you.
There's 2. That's one. The other I probably wouldn't want to share just because it's kind of it's a job thing, not in a negative way. Just the world changed quickly, in 2001. So
yeah, it did.
Yes, sir.
It certainly did. We got a Mississippi Lottery update for you. MSLottery.com is their website. This is brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. We start with Lotto America, where there was no jackpot winner. The estimated jackpot for Saturday, March 1st, is $25.41 million. $11,620,000 is the estimated cash value. Last night's numbers, 4, 8, 11, 32, 52. The star ball was 13. The all-star bonus multiplier was 2. There was no jackpot winner last night for Powerball. The estimated jackpot for Saturday night, $272 million. Estimated cash value, just shy of $125 million. The numbers from last night, by the way, these numbers had no shot. I mean, unless they were just automatically generated. Nobody was picking these numbers on their own. 28, 48, 55, 60, and 62.
Yeah, favorite numbers, all of those, huh?
Yeah. Powerball was 20. Power play multiplier was 2.
Well, double play, Wednesday's drawing, that's February the 26th, Wednesday, 21, 26, 45, 46, 64, Powerball of 11. And we're still letting that Mega Millions run on up there. There's no jackpot winner yet. And the estimated jackpot for the Friday drawing, $197 million. Estimated on that is $91.9 million. The numbers from Tuesday, 4, 8, 11, 32, 52, and a Mega Ball of 13 with a Megaplier multiplier of 2.
Mississippi Match 5, no jackpot winner in last night's drawing. $227,000 is the jackpot now. Wednesday night's drawing numbers, 19, 27, 28, 33, and 34. Cash 3 yesterday in the midday, 7, 8, 2. In the evening, it was 0, 5, 9. The cash 4 drawing for $5,000 yesterday. Midday numbers were 8, 1, 7, 2. The evening drawing, 9260. The fireball of 8 in the midday, 6 in the evening, with a cash pop of 1 and 2 respectively. The $20 My Lottery Dream Home bonus promotion is having its final drawing today. The lottery is supersizing the prizes, $25, $15, $10,000 in cash, plus 5 lucky winners will get $1,000 digital gift cards. But that's not all. The bonus promotion entries are all entered into the game's second chance drawing for a life-changing $1 million at the end of the game. Follow the Mississippi Lottery on social media or visit them online at mslottery.com and click on the bonus promos tab to see the final winner cities. We'll have those for you as well. You got winners?
Yeah, cash 4 winners. I'm hoping, I think that's a York, Alabama man, because I know where York is, but I don't know York. But $2,900 in the pocket from Jenny's Mini Food Mart there in Toomsuba. And a Collins man won $5,800 on 2 tickets from the Quick Fill in Richland and the JR Food Mart number 72 in Collins.
Match 5, Hernando woman, $800 on a ticket from Pleasant Hill Market and Deli in Nesbitt. Gulfport woman, $800 on a ticket from Circle K down on the coast. There's a Mega Millions winner at Pontotoc man, put $800 in his pocket on a ticket from Murphy Oil in Pontotoc. And then Jackson woman, $2,500 on a ticket from Murphy Oil USA. That was on a $200,000 jackpot winner. $10 scratch off there.
The $10 extreme payday winner, a Boonville woman, $2,500 in the pocket on ticket from JR Food Mart in Boonville. Then you had a few of the $20 200-time cash blitz winners, 4 with $1,000. A Millry, Alabama woman, an Escopta man, a Lauderdale man, and a Laurel man all won $1,000 there.
Very good. That is your update from the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. To start the 7 o'clock hour, we will have a guest in studio, Dr. LouAnn Woodward, Dean of the School of Medicine. The University of Mississippi Medical Center will join us. Got some audio to play for you. And then at the end of the show today, don't want to miss this, it's going to be a fun conversation with musician Paul Thorn. All of that coming up as Mornings with Richard Cross rolls on right here on Super Talk Mississippi. Good morning to you.
That's not who I am. So bye-bye, Birmingham. Bye-bye, Birmingham.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm amazed like evolution. I'm amazed.
You're headed out the door trying to get kids to school on time. We pat you on the back because we know that is not an easy thing to do. Maybe you're headed into the office. We hope you have a great Thursday. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. You know, for a lot of us, when you go to work in the morning, you get a pretty good idea of what the day is going to be like. Sometimes it's mundane, but there aren't always a lot of surprises. That is not necessarily the case for Dr. LouAnn Woodward. She is Dean of the School of Medicine at the University of Mississippi Medical Center and Vice Chancellor of Health Affairs. Is there something invigorating about going to the office every morning having no idea what's going to end up on your plate?
I'm not sure invigorating is the word I would use, but it's never boring. It's never dull. It's always exciting. There's always a challenge. And the wonderful thing about the work that we do at the medical center is there's lots of good work to be done. Yes, there are challenges that come our way, but it's always an exciting place to be. Maybe invigorating is the word I'll start to use. I like it.
There we go. Good morning to you, by the way. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Always good to visit. Dr. LouAnn Woodward, Dean of the School of Medicine, and she's over health affairs as well at UMMC. There's so many different places we could start. My wife and I were in Jackson for 10 months back in 2009, I think it was, 2008, 2009. She was in pharmacy school. And the changes at UMMC, if nothing else, from just the way it looks from the outside, from then until where you are now, it's like it is an entirely different place.
It really is. It has changed so much over the last 10, 20 years. It's been so thrilling to be a part of that growth and part of that change. And you know, it doesn't matter what you look at, whether it's the education piece, the research piece, the clinical piece, the physical plant of the campus, the actually the way that we upkeep the grounds. You know, it just doesn't matter what part that you look at. There's been a lot of change, a lot of positive change. It's been an exciting and fun, and I'm going to say now, invigorating journey.
I like it.
To be a part of that. It's really spectacular.
I know I've asked you about this in the past, but just remind, how often do you find yourself still in the classroom or on the floor in the hospital? Does it ever happen anymore? So
that depends. I do participate in some of the education activities, not nearly to the degree that I used to. Now I'm sort of a guest, speaker or guest, right, what have you. there are different opportunities where we have regular meetings with students from different schools and student leadership. So that happens on a routine basis. And then as far as taking care of patients, I am not taking care of patients myself, but many days a week, I hate to say every single day, but most days a week, I am out and about and talking to people who are taking care of patients, walking the floors. Yesterday afternoon, I picked up 6 pieces of trash out in front of the adult hospital and then went into the lobby and actually talked to several people there. So I feel it is critically important for myself and all of the leadership team to be out and about in formal ways and informal ways. We do specifically some leadership rounds at different times of the day and night. Next week, I hope this isn't a spoiler alert, but next week I'm going to be up there one evening late in the evening to help with a little, passing out some goodies and stuff for some of our night shift employees. So they're all
asleep right now. You're good.
or
they're on their way to bed.
So there are lots of ways, like I said, that formally we have activities so that we're out in the classrooms and in the halls of the hospital. But then there's a lot of informal activity around that as well. It's very important.
There's such a uniqueness to a teaching hospital, a university setting hospital, and it's almost like intuitively there's some people who are like, I don't know if I want to go to a place where there are a bunch of college students or medical students who are learning on the fly. I don't want to be like a crash test dummy here. And yet routinely you see university hospitals, teaching hospitals providing some of the best care that you can get anywhere. How does that work? Why does it work that way?
So, we're well aware of that sort of thought that's out there. I've even had people say to me, I don't want to be a guinea pig. Well, we don't.
Probably a better word than crash test dummy. We'll hold on to invigorating, but we'll get rid of crash test dummy.
And the fact is, that's not how it is. Nobody wants that. That is absolutely not how it is. There are all sorts of, whether you look at health professional school accreditation standards or you look at other rules and regulations, there are all sorts of reasons why that doesn't happen. And, just not the right thing for patient care. The way that it, I think, enhances patient care is, in fact, as an attending, which is what we call the physicians who are leading the teams, kind of the grown-up doctors, no longer in any training. We are attendings. As an attending in that environment, you have to be on your toes because you've got this host of people who are asking you questions all the time. Why are we doing this? Why didn't we think about this? Well, what about this idea? So there is that real sense of, you have to be on your toes all the time because not only are your patients and the patient families asking you questions, but the medical students, the residents, the fellows, the nursing students, the students from all the different schools, they want to learn, they want to know. You have to be able to explain things in a different way. So you can't get, you have to keep your knowledge and skills fresh and up to par. And also at an academic medical center, we've got the research component where people are looking at cutting edge research and cutting edge treatments and things like that. So from that standpoint, I think it is the opportunity really to provide a different level of care for the patients that is that higher level of more complex care, as opposed to sort of that old possible thought process of, well, I don't want to go there because I don't want to be a guinea pig. Yeah. And many times, it's so fascinating because many times the students, I'm just going to make these numbers up to give you an example. An attending on a service might have 25 patients. Well, there are 3 or 4 students on that service. So the students each only have, 5, 6, 7, 8 patients. They actually get to spend a lot of time with those patients, talking to them. It's a lot of one-on-one time. And many times the patients really get attached to their students and understand that they are a true part of the care team.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful environment.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact numbers, but a few years ago, I know there was a lot of financial concern as it pertained to UMMC. The outside appearance is that the hospital, medical school, everything related to UMMC is in a better place financially now than it was a decade ago. Is that accurate?
So, yes, it's accurate. And I'll say this, actually next week, March 1st, I guess that's this weekend, will be my completion of my 10th year in the job. So I have been thinking a fair amount about the last 10 years. And if you'll recall, in the 2016, 2017, even into 2018 timeframe, we had a number of unexpected and unplanned cuts to our budget. Through one avenue, it was through state appropriations, and through another avenue, it was around some of the supplemental funds that come in from the federal government, from CMS, to help offset the cost of uncompensated care. And, tiny tweaks in their formulas can have a big impact,
right,
for the entities at the front line. So that was a very challenging time. We had to deal with that. Then coming out of that, a year or two later, 2020, we all know what happened, the tornado that hit the world and the fallout from that. So over these last 10 years, because of a variety of different things, we've really had to look at our finances differently. And we have, taken the opportunity to do a lot of different things. We have been more aggressive in achieving grant funding for our research programs. We have learned to be more efficient, and all of those sorts of activities that are important to a strong financial position.
Those things all working together to have UMMC in as good a place as it has ever been right now under the leadership of Dr. LouAnn Woodward. We're going to continue the conversation. Not only does she have the role of being dean of the medical school and overseeing the hospital, she also is the primary liaison to the state legislature. We'll talk with that. We'll talk about what some of the things that are happening in Washington, D.C. mean for UMMC, or could potentially mean for UMMC going forward. That and more when we continue with Dr. LouAnn Woodward from UMMC on Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Street.
Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I'm a little overweight and my logs are way behind, but nothing bothers me tonight. I can dodge all the scales all right. 6 days on the road.
8:30 this morning, musician Paul Thorn will join us. Look forward to the conversation with him coming up a little bit later. Right now, though, we are joined by Dr. LouAnn Woodward, Dean of the School of Medicine at UMMC. You mentioned a decade, or coming up on a decade. I think you said on March 1st. I'm sure at times that feels like it has gone by in the blink of an eye, and at times it feels like it has been multiple lifetimes. There's been growth. There's been expansion. We talked about kind of the physical piece of it on the main UMMC campus, but also an expansion into other parts of the Jackson metro area, including the new Colony Park South location.
That's right. So I want to say a couple of things about that, but before I forget, I also just want to say congratulations to you for being, named permanently in this seat. We will all miss Paul and the Paul-isms, that we
there were quite a few of them
that we came to know and love. But congratulations to you, and we really look forward to working with you and having you in this seat in this time slot. So that's fun.
I appreciate that very much.
But yes, so we are, everything. All the programs at the medical center are growing. Like I said, whether it's education, we've got a school of nursing building going up. We've got a school of dentistry building we're breaking ground on next week. We've got research programs that are growing, and the clinical programs are growing. And our campus is fairly landlocked. We're kind of landlocked where we are. We are making some efforts to either expand east or west, and talking to some of our state legislatures about the DPS property, et cetera. But we're landlocked. And in the area where we are, it is, I'm just going to say, best if we can control things like water supply and security. So that is an important piece for us. And we are trying to have our campus be not quite as congested. I don't know, hopefully you've been there since 2009, like you mentioned, but I don't know. But people are lost. It's congested. It's hard to navigate around. And we are trying to move some of those things off campus that are high volume, outpatient kind of activities so that we can really focus our own campus, especially main hospital, activities around the things where people really need to be in the hospital, the critical care patients, the patients that are going to have surgeries and that they're going to not only be admitted, they're probably going to be in the ICU for a few days and those sorts of things. So we are expanding into that Colony Park area and we are really excited about it. I think it will be wonderful, fresh space. It will be easy access for patients. We are excited about having students and residents and other learners in those kind of spaces that are more like what they will experience when they go out in their own practice.
Is that also strategic from a financial standpoint?
It is. We think that being able to get off of our campus and to get out into communities, we've got some clinics out at Grants Ferry, out in that direction. Yeah. We've clearly got some clinics in Grenada. We've actually got clinic footprint, whether it's pediatrics or adult. Our clinic footprint extends the whole entire state, honestly. And it is good for us to be able to get out there closer to where patients are.
I have a question that's probably off your radar, and you'll just have to indulge me here if you don't mind. But I ask this because I have a 9th grade daughter, and she is in that stage where people are starting to say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what are you going to do when you go to college? When it feels like when kids are 5, everybody either wants to be a doctor or a firefighter or maybe a nurse or they want to be a professional athlete.
Yes,
like those are kind of the standard answers. But when you talk to young people that are in the early stages of high school and you hear somebody say, hey, I want to be a doctor, what do you say to them?
So first of all, I say, yay, this is great. There are some people...
and maybe I should say not just a doctor, but maybe a health professional.
Right,
doctor,
right.
nurse, occupational therapist, etc.
Because kids, especially young kids and kids in middle school age and even early high school, many times don't even know what the choices are. They just see healthcare and they think either doctor or nurse. They don't even think about all the other different choices because there are so many things that great careers in healthcare. There are people in my generation and older who would certainly say to a young person, it's not like it used to be, don't do it. It's overregulated, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And there are challenges, but nothing is like it used to be. I mean, no profession, no career is like it used to be. And in healthcare, you have the opportunity to work with people that need your services. If you are inspired and excited by the opportunity to work with people in a time of need and to help them and to be with them along their healthcare journey, it's a wonderful career. It is so rewarding in so many ways. There's such a need. So, I would love to talk to kids that think they're interested in healthcare because it is yes, there are challenges, but there are challenges with everything. Sure. And it is just unbelievably rewarding and a very special thing, I think, to be able to do with your career and with your life.
If you're trying to convince them, I wouldn't lead with an extra 8 to 12 years of school. I don't know that's the number one selling point for somebody who's thinking high school is never going to end.
One of the things because sometimes kids, this would typically be the older high school or younger college age student. Sometimes they look at that timeline and it is daunting and they think, I'm not sure I want to do that. But a way to think about it is the time is going to pass. As long as you are alive, the time is going to pass. Something is going to be happening with your life. Don't think about the next 2 to 3 years. Think about where do I want to be in 10 years. That just to think about it in that way and you realize I can have accomplished this goal or I'll be doing something else. I mean, so
sure.
I would encourage people to think about that.
Visiting with Dr. LouAnn Woodward. She's Dean of the School of Medicine at UMMC and also Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs in the University of Mississippi system. Let's get back to the government piece of it, because there's the doctor piece of it, there's the hospital piece of it, there's the administration piece of it, and then there's the relationship with the legislature. You have to be active in that role, but it's not just the state legislature. What about at the federal level? And you got executive orders coming down right now so fast that it's almost hard to keep up with what the president's doing on a daily basis.
That's right.
Is there anything that has happened so far in terms of an executive order that is already or is about to affect UMMC?
So a couple of things, and I want to back up just a second to the state, if that's all right.
Sure.
So, we are a state institution, and so that makes us different than other hospitals and health systems. We actually have a legislative mandate to provide care to the underserved. Mm-hmm. No other hospital or health system has that. We take that very seriously. We try to work very closely with our state leaders and state legislators, because so much of what we do is in partnership with them, and it's really important. And so that is a relationship that feels very intense during these months of the session, but it doesn't end when the session is over. We are in communication and collaboration with them all throughout the year, and it's a critically important partnership. Now, at the federal level, as you said, we've got new administration, we've got a new president. President Trump is putting out executive orders, and in some cases, there's a feeling of a little bit of whiplash. An executive order comes out, then there's a restraining order, then there's this. So the main thing that I'm advising our team is, okay, first of all, let's just be calm. Number one, be calm. And we've really got to get some clarity on some of the definitions and the intent. So just to give you a couple of examples, there's both executive order and there are state bills that are being passed around DEI programs.
Right.
So the question that I have is, what is the definition? What do you mean? And people, from the second these executive orders or bills are dropped or whatever, the next question people ask is, well, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to the medical center? What are you going to have to do? And the truth is, it depends on what the definitions are. So in Mississippi, you know where we are on all the list around health outcomes. We've got a lot of health disparities. Most of the state is medically underserved, would qualify as medically underserved. Maybe a couple of the big towns don't, but most of the state does. We have research programs, clinical programs that are directed at healthcare disparities and medically underserved areas. The Rural Physicians and Dental Scholarship Program is designed to get physicians and dentists and medical students to go practice in rural parts of the state. Those are medically underserved areas. There are health disparities there. Is this going to be something that's not allowed? I don't think that's the intent, but we need to know what is the intent.
Have you got time to hang with me for one more segment?
I do, because there's another example I want to give you.
All right, and I've got more questions as well, and the time certainly goes quickly. I will read you one message from the ceasefire text line as we go to the break.
Okay.
Proud of our Carroll County girl. You go, LouAnn. That is Kirk from Carroll County.
Thank you for that.
Quick time out. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. You want to join the conversation, you can do so on the ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. We're back with you and more with Dr. LouAnn Woodward right after this.
The winner loses all. The winner loses all.
From the segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Somebody told me when I first got to Nashville, oh, she finally got it made.
Back on MRC, thanks for being with us this morning on Super Talk Mississippi. Dr. LouAnn Woodward is my guest, kind with her time this morning. We were talking before the break about executive orders and other policy coming down from the federal level And you said there was one more example that you had that you wanted to get to.
Yes. So again, sort of the that overarching message that we're trying internally to hold steady is just to be calm, because we don't know where all the dust is going to settle. The only grant that we've gotten a cease or a stop order on is a grant that one of our pediatricians holds with collaborators from UAB, looking at parasites in soil. So, who would have thought that? We got a stop order on that grant, and then 2 or 3 days later, we got never mind, go ahead and continue. So there's just a lot of uncertainty related to what's going to shake out, what definitions are going to be applied, and so we're just awaiting, further information. We've talked to our congressional delegation in Washington, and even up there, there's not a lot of clarity or a real knowledge around, what does this mean exactly. So we are waiting and like everybody else, watching everything and trying to be as current as we can and stay on top of it.
I think regardless of where you fall politically, you recognize that if you're trying to clean up a mess, sometimes it gets messier before it gets clean.
100%. In my own just personal experience, if you're going to clean that closet out, it's going to look worse before it gets better. That is just the way it is.
Tornado example.
That's right. That is just the way it is. And I feel, and I think, I certainly can't speak for anybody else, but I think that a majority of people feel that that we need to do a better job with the federal government, with the balance, with the budget. That's the word I was looking for, with the budget, and not have such a deficit. And we need to look at spending and be sure that we're spending it on things that are valuable and important. So certainly myself, I'm all in favor of looking at these things where there's unnecessary or whatever kind of spending that's just crazy, to get it right. But it does create some turbulence and a little bit of chaos.
Well, and one of the massive expenses at the federal level, and frankly at the state level as well, is Medicare, Medicaid. Mm-hmm. And you talk about uncertainty a second ago. It feels like that's kind of at the top of the list of uncertainty, and even some conversation about block grant funding going forward, and not knowing exactly what that would mean. What percentage of patients that come through UMMC are Medicare, Medicaid?
So if you look at Medicare
Roughly.
and Medicaid together, it's going to be, and again, it's going to vary day to day, week to week, month to month, but we track it monthly, and look at it year over year, of course. So it's around 70% Medicare, Medicaid, about 70% when you put those two together. It's around 40% Medicaid, 30% Medicare. And the easy way to remember it is, again, you look at it year over year and it fluctuates, but it's typically falls into these buckets: 40, 30, 20, 10, 20% commercial and 10% patients with no insurance. Oh, wow. So that's the distribution of our payer mix over time.
Yeah. I don't know if you have a strong opinion on this one way or the other. One of the issues that is before the legislature right now, there's been a bill on both the Senate and the House side, is PBM related, pharmacy benefit managers. And school pharmacy is its own entity, but it falls under UMMC, right? Is that the way to describe that?
No, the School of Pharmacy actually falls under Ole Miss.
Okay.
So Ole Miss,
but Ole Miss pharmacy students come to Jackson for a period as well.
That's right. So School of Pharmacy students, they're admitted through Ole Miss. They graduated Ole Miss, but for some of their clinical training, they come to the medical center and are on our campus for a couple of years. Likewise, the School of Nursing is our school at the medical center. But we have, over the last few years, established sites for that school at Ole Miss, both the accelerated program and the traditional program. So for those two programs, nursing and pharmacy, there's some back and forth of students between Oxford and Ole Miss. But the pharmacy school is officially an Ole Miss school. The nursing school is officially the medical center school.
Gotcha. That PBM legislation, pharmacy benefit managers, I mean, it's part of the spider web of the healthcare system. Any thoughts on where that, or you want to just set that one out?
Well, I will say that pharmacy benefit managing programs are challenging for us. So I'll say that. And your description of the healthcare delivery system being a web is perfect because it's a web, and on many days, the fact is it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge.
One of my passions, and I'm assuming one of yours as well, is organizations that do good for children. And I feel like I'm remiss not to ask you about Children's of Mississippi and the growth that's happening there over the last few years. I think every time we talk, I'm going to ask you something about Children's of Mississippi.
Good.
It is an unbelievably beautiful facility. There has been a ton of charitable giving to allow some of those things to happen. Do you smile every time you drive by and you see that facility, and then when you're walking around inside it?
I do. So and it's called the Joe and Kathy Sanderson Towers, and
right.
it's called that for a reason, because Joe and Kathy Sanderson were so instrumental in both their own personal giving as well as reaching out to others and helping us achieve that. We had a $100 million capital campaign to go toward that. Tower was a $180 million total tower,
yeah.
But we were able to raise $100 million of it through that capital campaign, and we're in some early phases now around a cancer capital campaign. And you may have seen some of the communications recently. John and Sandy Black gave a $25 million gift toward that campaign. And I cringe when I hear people use the word transformational because it's just overused. But there's really not another word that is as appropriate as that for what this kind of gift means. It is truly transformational and just a huge boost to the work that we're now doing and planning for the next few years in cancer.
And they've been incredibly generous to the University of Mississippi writ large. I mean,
they have.
Athletics and Oxford, academic side on the Oxford campus, and now at UMMC. People
like that, Joe and Kathy, John and Sandy Black, they are leaders. They're the kind of people who can see a vision and work toward that vision and help make a vision become reality. I walk through back to the Sanderson Tower. I walk through Sanderson Tower and I look at it and I've told Joe and I've sent him text messages. I walk through here and I think about you because it's just spectacular.
I'm going to do something they told us not to do in journalism school, and let's ask a two-part question. You said coming up on a decade, March 1st. Mm-hmm. One, can you do this another decade? And if the answer is yes, what do things look like at UMMC 10 years from now?
So I'll say this, I'm not going to do it another 10 years.
Okay.
However, I also don't have a time frame in mind, but I just know that it's not going to be 10 years. I don't know what it's going to be, but regardless of that, whether I'm here 10 years from now or somebody else is here 10 years from now or 5 years from now. So we have continued planned growth. Our overall mission is to improve the health of Mississippians. And oh my stars, we've still got a lot of hard work to do in that space. And we're excited about it. We are really excited about it. I want to say something about the finances because I don't want to leave anybody who's listening thinking that we're over here just rolling in money, because nothing could be further than the truth. In healthcare and in health hospitals and healthcare hospital systems, at least I can say the ones in Mississippi and the ones who serve a mission like we do, where part of your mission is being a safety net hospital. If you have a 1 or a 2 or 3% margin at the end of the year, that's a positive margin.
Yeah.
You feel like you can do big things. Most businesses would shut the doors if that was their reality at the end of a year. So we live and die on a razor-thin margin. But what we are really committed to doing, which is hard and it takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of making some people upset with you, is maintaining a focus and focusing on those key strategic priorities. We cannot be all things for all people. We can't do everything. But just like to your point earlier about the work that we've done in children's, that wasn't by accident. It's because for 5-6 years we said we're investing in children's and we're doing this. So it requires a lot of strategic discipline to be able to grow the programs that we're growing.
Thanks so much for your time this morning. Really enjoyed the conversation.
It's been great. Thank you.
Look forward to visiting with you again soon. Dr. LouAnn Woodward, Dean of the School of Medicine at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, and she's over health affairs as well, Vice Chancellor through the University of Mississippi. So much happening, and I appreciate a little bit of extra time to kind of unpack some of what's happening at UMMC. We are going to wrap up the 7 o'clock hour with you, and when we come back, we are going to give you a chance to win. You like 80s music? Stay tuned. We're back after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Give me that southern comfort. From the Venable Glass.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The way you spell. Down to the ground.
Again, my thanks to Dr. LouAnn Woodward for joining us for several segments this morning to talk about all the things that are happening at UMMC and in the healthcare world. Always an interesting conversation with her. It is time for us to give you a chance to win. It's the I Want My 80s concert ticket giveaway because of the I Want My 80s tour coming to the Brandon Amphitheater in May, featuring Rick Springfield, John Waite, Wang Chung, and more. Tickets are on sale right now at both Ticketmaster.com and the Brandon Amphitheater box office, but we want you to be a winner. How do you win? Well, get your typing fingers ready on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Be the third person to text us the phrase, the song title, the words, Jesse's Girl, and you will win a pair of tickets to see the I Want My 80s tour. Jesse's Girl, third person, go. 601-879-4395.
It's over.
Boom!
Yeah, well, that's how you do it. Number 3.
I think last week we went with 9. We went with a 7 earlier this week. I thought, you know what? You're going to have to be ready to go. Like, boom!
Yeah.
Gave you a heads up before the break. You're going to have a chance to win. And some of you were ready to go. We do have a winner. Jesse's Girl was the key phrase today. And somebody's going to win a pair of tickets to go see the I Want... How fun is that show?
Yeah, I just played the Wang Chung, Wang Chung tonight.
Yeah, you did.
Had to dig that one out.
Everybody have fun tonight.
Everybody Wang Chung. It's a great video. The hair is amazing.
Yeah.
Wish I still had hair like that.
Yesterday was quite the day for the Secretary of HUD. His name is Scott Turner. And really, really impressive guy. So there was the first full cabinet meeting yesterday, and Secretary Turner was asked to offer grace before the meeting began. Prayed a beautiful prayer, focusing on wisdom for leaders across the country. And then he tweeted about it, and he said, at POTUS, obviously tagging Donald Trump's President of the United States, thank you for trusting me to lead HUD and for giving me the opportunity to lift up Americans in prayer across the country. It's a really, really cool moment. And then he was interviewed later in the day. I think this was a Fox interview. And he talked a little bit about what HUD is doing, what DOJ has found with HUD, and what his administration has discovered as well. And there is savings to be had.
You know, we have a DOGE task force at HUD, and so we found $260 million in savings and contracts. $4 million of that was in DEI contracts that were for cultural transformation, which has nothing to do with the mission of HUD, and also an additional $1.9 billion in misplaced funds. And so, you know, part of being servant leaders like Brooke and I and our cabinet colleagues is to be good stewards of American taxpayer dollars. You know,
how refreshing is that? A leader of a federal agency that has a great deal of responsibility in terms of housing and urban development, HUD, saying that we've got a DOGE task force. And I don't even think that necessarily meant that Elon's team is in here. I think he was implying that within HUD, they put some people in place to look into almost preemptively. And they found $260 million, $4 million of which was going to DEI programs. And you heard Secretary Turner say it has nothing to do with the mission of HUD. And then $1.9 billion in misplaced funds. I am still having trouble wrapping my mind around the idea of misplaced funds. Maybe when you're talking about budgets, the size of the agencies that we're talking about, it's equivalent, Lance, to you misplacing $20 or misplacing a $100 bill.
Or somebody's retirement or whatever, you know, yeah. I mean, because that's the significance we're dealing with here. Is this? It ain't play money. This is people's livelihoods.
No, I understand that. But I'm talking about in terms of scale. Like, if you lose a $100 bill, it hurts. And you're frustrated. And you're like, I could really use that money for a million different things. But you don't change everything about your life because you lose a $100 bill.
No, you're right.
When a federal agency loses $1.9 billion, misplaced funds, and that number is small in comparison to what we've heard from the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. That number is exceptionally small from what we've heard about money going to Ukraine.
Misplaced, that's kind of like, you know, the difference in migrant and illegal immigrant, you know?
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I mean, I think we're at a point where, like, it's just just a little bit of accountability for our money. It's not their money, it's our money. You pay taxes, that is your money. I don't think it's too much to ask them to keep up with it.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
That's the way you spell Chicago. A knife and a fork, well, and a plate of green. That's the way you spell, New Orleans.
Good morning, 8 o'clock hour. Thanks for being with us on Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Whether you are listening on the radio, perhaps in your car on the way to work, or getting kids to school, you're listening at your desk, you are listening online, you're listening later to the Mornings with Richard Cross podcast, or maybe you're watching on Super Talk TV, wherever, however, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of the conversation. You want to be a greater part of the conversation, you're welcome to do that on the C Spire text line. The number, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire Business. Check them out online at cspire.com/business. C Spire, customer inspired. Looking forward to the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. About half an hour from right now, we are going to have the opportunity to visit with Paul Thorn, an incredibly talented musician. He has a new album coming out. He has a concert date that's happening right here in Mississippi, but a very limited opportunity for you to see him. And in terms of stories, he's got some great ones to tell. Looking forward to the visit with Paul Thorn coming up about half an hour from right now. I love this. Amory, Mississippi, listening, loading dirt in an excavator. I love it.
Nothing better than that.
Thanks for joining us. I will tell you this. This is if you through the years have listened to Sports Talk Mississippi in the afternoons, you've heard me say this, I don't know, maybe 100 times. There is little that I enjoy more, and I don't know why I get the satisfaction from this, but from those of you who are working outdoors, particularly farmers, but not just farmers, if you're working outdoors and you're listening, send us a picture. Send us a picture from the cab of that tractor overlooking those rows that you are prepping, you're getting ready to plant. Send us a picture during harvest season. I assure you I will always give you a shout out, and we'll thank you for that. I don't know. Maybe it's jealousy is too strong of a word, but envy that you are outside in the great outdoors in God's playground.
And operating equipment, too.
And operating equipment, big boy toys. Everybody loves the big boy toys. So shoot us those pictures. We would certainly appreciate that.
You ever ridden in a combine before?
I have ridden in a cotton picker, but not a combine.
And those things are huge, man. And they're so high tech nowadays. I mean, but what an amazing machine.
Yeah.
Anything big like that, you just kind of, as a guy, you just want to jump in it and let's go ride around.
How'd you like to pull around one of those hitched together double dirt pans behind one of those tractors that's got double wheels on the back? It's about a 500 horsepower tractor.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Plant me in the chair and let me go.
Yeah.
I can plow field all day long. I love doing that too. It's so much fun to get out in the woods and the fields, and once that Johnson grass gets about 15 feet tall, and you're small, on the tractor compared to it.
Everybody, Lance, has their kind of own happy place. Like, where do you go to just check out, to unwind, to think, to, I don't know, listen to your favorite podcast, and just, outside of the normal daily responsibilities? I have two of those. Two places. One of them is in my own yard, especially when I have a backpack blower on and I'm blowing leaves.
Oh, isn't that nice, the monotony of it?
Instant gratification, earbuds in, can't hear anybody else. I say earbuds, AirPods, whatever, earphones, you know what I mean. And you just do your thing. And it looks so much better when it's done. That's number one. And number two is I have a friend who has some property not far from here. And to go and jump on the tractor and just bush hog for whether it's 20 minutes or 4 hours. Again, and I think I'm seeing a pattern here, there's the instant gratification piece. Like, you can look at what you have just done and be like, man, that looks good. The feeling of accomplishment that goes along with it, but also it's just me right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so
I love
good.
it being on a Kubota or John Deere out in the field. You're cutting everything, and you do it for 10, 12 hours, and you get off that tractor, and your legs are still bouncing. Yep. You're still moving. It takes about an hour for you to get the gyrations out of the body, but that's a great feeling too, knowing that you've done something.
Mose sent us a question, and this is not related to anything that we've been talking about, but I think we can give you just a little bit of insight as to what's happening. He said the SuperTalk news team on the possibility of a casino in Jackson just said that they could only be built on, quote, the Mississippi River, the Gulf Coast, or land owned by Native Americans. Wouldn't that mean that a tribe could buy land in Jackson and it would be okay? Just something to think about. Actually, no, Mose, and I appreciate the question. It is, sometimes you just get lucky. I asked that question to some of my friends at Pearl River Resort not too long. That's obviously Mississippi band of Choctaw Indians. And I was like, so theoretically, anywhere you own land, you could build a casino, a gaming institution? And the answer is no. There is a certain date and I don't remember the exact date. For some reason, I think it was sometime in the 80s, but I don't remember the exact date. But it has to be land that was owned, that was tribal land before a certain date. So no, just using Pearl River Resort and the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians as an example, no, they cannot go buy a parcel of 50 acres in Hinds County in downtown Jackson and say, all right, this is our land. We're going to build a casino on it. Doesn't work that way. But a reasonable question, and one that I was wondering myself just a couple of weeks ago. So, very good. Donald in Oxford says, Richard, I've got some land and a tractor about 40 minutes from Oxford. You are more than welcome to come bush hog all you want. I might even pay you.
Well, you'll be happy to do that, too. You need a little comfort time. It's not far.
Yeah. Look at this picture from this morning. Is that Sardis?
I'm not sure I've gotten to that one yet.
I'm not sure what lake that is. It says drive across the lake makes for a great morning view.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that is. Is that the that's a 662? So it's one of the beauties up there. You got quite a few. But Enid, Arcabutla,
I think that's Sardis.
Yeah. I love the bridge, the dam at Sardis, though. I mean, isn't that such? It's kind of like one of those. You don't want to even go fast. You just kind of creep down the thing and go, man, this. Well,
there was
beautiful.
a time in your life you did, like when you were 16 and you were up there. You wanted to go really fast. Now you want to go a little bit slower and just kind of check it all out. Pam Bondi, the new Attorney General, is ultimately the person that is going to be in charge of releasing the names and the files. Sorry, that is Grenada Lake, going across the Grenada Dam.
Ooh, nice.
Gorgeous. Ooh,
great fishing hole that is. Yeah.
Those crappie.
They eat good, too. Catching them's a lot of fun, but eating them's even better.
You got Pam Bondi, who's going to be ultimately responsible for the release of the names and the lists and the flight records and all of those things for both the Epstein files and ultimately for the JFK assassination. And there has been a promise that was going to happen for a while, but it hasn't happened yet. Last night, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was on with Jesse Waters, and to his credit, Jesse said, Madam Attorney General, when are we going to get these files? Here's what she said.
A lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have, well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
All right. She said tomorrow, and tomorrow is actually today because that interview happened yesterday. Is it coming today? We've said we want it. We've been promised it. She said the one thing that they have had to make sure of, and by the way, the executive order was issued for the departments that house those records to release them as soon as was available, and there was kind of no response from the DOJ. DOJ kind of got called out publicly, and Pam Bondi got tagged. And then Jesse Waters asked her last night, when do we go see him? The answer is today. Victims' names will be redacted. Are we going to get the full, unfiltered list? Are we going to get the flight logs so that we know who went to the island? Epstein Island? What are the names going to be? Are you going to be surprised by any of the names that are on this list that the DOJ is going to release? We're going to keep our eyes open for that one. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Back right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass in Ridgeland on 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive, Cross Gates. Call 601-605-4443 for all of your glass needs. Traffic moving along smoothly right now. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. This traffic report brought to you by River Trust Federal Credit Union. Call today and take advantage of their limited time share certificate special, a 4.22% annual percentage yield on 30 and 60 months. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Family Termite is a proud VIP sponsor of the Handyman Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Whether you're a proud DIYer or a seasoned veteran, Mississippi's handyman Buddy Slowick has the answers to your home improvement questions each Saturday from 10 till noon.
Here's Flint from Coleman Taylor Transmissions.
We try to offer an out-the-door price. I think that customers appreciate that, so they know from the day they approve the job how much money they got to have when they walk in the door. They don't even have to call me and ask. Nowadays, people value that.
Remember, free towing on major repairs. Call Coleman Taylor Transmissions today at 601-355-8526 or go to ColemanTaylorJacksonMS.com.
The best made-to-order lunch is right around the corner at 4th and Gold Sports Cafe. Eat in or carry out, DoorDash or Grubhub. Call 769-208-8283. That's 769-208-8283. Once again, 769-208-8283.
Hi, I'm Josh Quick, the owner of Mid-South Crawl Space Solutions, formerly known as Clean Space of Central Mississippi. Our name may have changed, but our expertise remains. An unhealthy crawl space can invite mold, bugs, and buckling floors. This affects not only your crawl space, but compromises the health of your entire home. Our Clean Space system will transform your crawl space into a dry, healthy, clean environment that will save you energy and money. No more moisture, no more mold, no more smells. Still doing free estimates at mscrawlspace.com.
Maloney Overhead Door is new to the greater Jackson area, but we've been serving North Mississippi families and businesses for over 3 generations. We're your local experts for all your garage door needs, residential and commercial garage door service, installation, repair, and emergency services, plus stock equipment sales and service, gate operator repair and replacement, and more. Experience the difference with Maloney Overhead Door of Greater Jackson. Call us today for a free quote. 601-612-0850. Maloney Overhead Door. Quality service for 3 generations.
$7 billion reinvested. Thousands of new jobs. All happening on a main street near you. For over 40 years, the Mississippi Main Street Association has helped historic downtown districts across the state to revitalize. We spur economic development in the hearts of our communities, helping small businesses and driving quality of life projects that make our cities and towns better. Thank you to our state legislators, investors, and members who know that community revitalization happens on Main Street. Learn more at msmainstreet.com. That's msmainstreet.com.
This is Brian Haydad with Sports Talk Mississippi, the Magnolia State's #1 sports show. Get the show wherever you get your podcast.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Remember I told you earlier about my spilled water? Yeah, got my first casualty. It's the space bar. I tried to respond to a couple of messages on the ceasefire text line. It's just all big one word. So to our friend who says, Stan in Hattiesburg, says his son McKinley's doing some bush hogging and he loves it. I tried to respond, love the picture. That tractor is fine as frog's hair, but it was just all one big jumbled word. So I'm just saying it to you out loud.
Rub some dirt on that thing and get it back to work. Come on.
I'm working on it, and by working on it, I mean I'm ordering another one right now.
Yeah, you don't have diamond dry.
And Houston just put it in the other day, and I messed that up.
Yeah, you don't have rice and diamond dry handy.
Not handy.
Yeah.
Not handy. A couple of other messages. It says do not use my name, but I don't see a name on here, so it shouldn't be a problem. Please be aware that when you talk about waste in the federal government, it seems like you were talking about every employee. When in fact, there are many that are glad to see this uncovering of waste and are helping, many that have been good stewards of our tax dollars their entire careers, and now their reward for doing a good job, for working in the field, for dealing with what is dealt to them from above, which includes budget cuts, staff cuts, to the point where it is hard to continue their mission, but they are continuing it as best they can. Their reward is Washington and regional offices getting to save their own behinds while determining the field positions where the rubber meets the road are not needed. that is real. And it's also sad. And I will apologize. I hope that an apology isn't necessary. I hope that you don't believe that I think that every federal employee is one that is nefarious, or is one that is wasteful. That's far from the truth. In fact, I actually happen to believe that the majority of federal employees are good people who work hard. But I have seen with my own eyes the opposite end of the spectrum. Not so much the fraud, but I've seen the waste. I've seen the laziness. I've seen the entitled attitude. I've seen, frankly, incompetence in some of these positions. And all of that's just from one office. I can't imagine what it's like spread out across the entire federal government. But no, sir, or ma'am, whichever it is. I do not think that you are... I do not want you to think that I am talking about every employee in the federal government. I don't like painting with that broad of a brush, because there are always exceptions. And I appreciate your recognition, long before it's been talked about as publicly as it's being talked about right now, of the inefficiencies and of the waste and of the flippant attitude and of the, well, it's a government job, they'll never find me, and doing the best you can to do your job, because those people exist. And here's the thing. Not only do people like you, my friend, exist, there are people who go out of their way and fight through the BS of bureaucracy because they know that ultimately there is benefit to their job for the people they are serving. Right? And you have government agencies that are in place to take care of different parts of the population, different work classes. And there are some who are exceptional about their job, and if maybe their job is to distribute money through a government program, they don't treat it like it's their money. They are not looking for a gotcha for the recipients. They are trying to make everything they can available for the recipients because it is the right thing to do, because it's money that has been allocated by Congress through a fund to go to certain people. And so for the civil servants who are going about your job that way, thank you for your service. And I sincerely and dearly hope that you don't get caught up in the wash of massive cuts. But the hard reality of this is there are going to be people in the process of cutting thousands of jobs in the federal government and trying to eliminate waste and trying to root out the fraud and trying to root out redundancy and trying to save money. There are going to be good, well-intentioned, faithful workers who have done their job, who have not caused problems, who have gone above and beyond on a daily basis for a really, really long time, who are going to find themselves out of work. And that's tragic. It is unfortunately necessary and likely unavoidable if, with an entity as big as the federal government, you are going to make the cuts necessary to make a difference in terms of the deficit and wasteful spending. It's really unavoidable. Does not make it any less tragic. There's no reason you should be any less sympathetic for good people who lose their jobs, who are doing a great job. And we sure hope that those people land on their feet. That somebody that is a supervisor or a superior to them recognizes the quality of their work and is able to somehow go to bat for them. Not just covering their own hide, hoping they keep their own job, but will go to bat for the good people within these organizations. Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary. And if you don't know Howard Lutnick's story, he is a really, really interesting guy. He is a billionaire multiple times over. He built an incredible financial services company who took up 5 floors in the World Trade Center, and he was out of the office. I listened to an interview that he did, extended interview just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was an older interview. And he was out of the office because he had reached a level of success where he had kind of set $100 million to the side. He was making plenty of money. All of the people in his organization were making money. He had young children, and he went to some of his coworkers. He said, I'm not going anywhere. When I'm in the office, I'm 100 miles an hour. But I'm not going to be in the office as much because I'm not going to miss my kids growing up. I have had enough success at this point in my life that I am choosing my family over work. And because of that decision, he took his 5-year-old son to kindergarten on September 11th, 2001, and was not in the office that morning, and his life was spared. And the work that he did in the aftermath of the 600 employees of Cantor Fitzgerald that died, taking care of those families, raising money, doing charitable things, it really is an incredible story. So, in an interview with Brett Baird, Howard Lutnick talks about ways to save money in an interaction that he had with the President of the United States.
So the concept was I'm sitting with the president, and the costs of the post office are like it loses $7 billion. And he said, can you do something with it? And I said, sure. So I saw him the next day, he goes, okay, what do you got? You know, he gives me the whole 24 hours to figure it out. And I said, well, the Commerce Department does the census. And we spend $40 billion every 10 years doing the census. And that means we hire 625,000 people. And they go and they rent cars and gas, and you pay them food. And you know what they do? They go to every household in America and count the people. What department do we already have that already employs 625,000 people? It's got cars, already has gas, goes to every household. Can you imagine saying to your postman, can you count the people in the house? What day could he do the census? Monday? Could he double check it on Tuesday? How about Wednesday? He goes every day. So we can only save $40 billion or $4 billion a year, and we'll do a better job. And you know what else we can do with the post office? They can go to your house when you have a baby and give you the form for Social Security. And the 20,000 Social Security offices that we have, we just don't need them. We actually can do real customer service. Go right to your house. Someone died. Here's the forms. You can fill it out. I'll bring them to your house. Customer service. Why? Because we've got those people. Let's use the assets of the government to make us better and save us money.
All right, so that's a really interesting concept. Now, there are people that would absolutely immediately point to the flaws in this idea. Couldn't wait to tell you the reasons why it wouldn't work. And maybe it won't work. Maybe that doesn't work the way you want it to work. But Howard Lutnick has not been as successful as he has been by coming up with an idea and immediately looking at the reasons why it won't work. Now, guys like him come up with ideas, and then they figure out how to make them work. I don't know if it works or not, but that's a really fascinating concept. You've already got postal workers going to every house in America every single day. Why don't you leverage what they're doing there and have them run the census and save $40 billion? Paul Thorn joins us next. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day. All on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Me and John Brown was eating ice cream at the DoubleTree in Suite 1019. Don't tell Fiona, she won't understand. Life is a vapor, let's live a while we can.
In Tupelo, to opening for Sting in a span of 30 days. A guy that is boxed against Roberto Duran, is a singer-songwriter, and an incredibly fascinating guy. Paul Thorn joins us this morning on Mornings with Richard Cross. Paul, thanks so much for your time. I understand some health issues with your dad. I'm sorry to hear about that, but we sure do appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah, just, he's, like the song says, life is just a vapor, man, and he's 85 years old, and, you don't get stronger as you get older, you get weaker, so.
Unfortunately,
that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. We certainly wish you and your dad the best as you care for him, and you're with him there a little bit as well. You got a new album that is out, and there's a lot of great stuff on there. I listened to a bunch of it last night. But song titles are so catchy sometimes, and a song title named Geraldine and Ricky feels like it has a chance to be a hit.
Well, I'll tell you about that song. When I was a little kid, not even 10 years old, there was this evangelist that traveled around the state of Mississippi. Her name was Geraldine, and her ministry was she had this ventriloquist doll, and she would, when she would tell about Jesus with this doll, that it really held the children's attention a lot better than it would just her by herself. But anyway, and as a child, I was mesmerized by her, and to the point of I begged my mother to get me a ventriloquist doll for Christmas, and she did. And I started doing ventriloquist shows.
Really?
When I was a little kid. Yeah, I started doing it. I was the world's worst ventriloquist because I couldn't do there's certain words like B and P that you have to close your mouth to say, And so you can see my mouth moving. But anyway, the way the song started, I had been wanting to write a song about a toxic woman taking advantage of a vulnerable empathic man, which happens a lot, and I was trying to come up with who the vehicle could be, and then I was walking through a thrift store in Tupelo, and right in front of my eyes when I started looking at the records was a Geraldine and Ricky album, and it brought back so many memories of seeing Geraldine and Ricky because they went to all the local churches. But I thought, what a great vehicle to write a song about a toxic relationship. And, the real Geraldine, she passed away last year. She was a wonderful woman that did a lot of good for God and everything. But I wanted to make the story, I wanted to use them as the people because Ricky represents the empathic man who's just happy to be there and doesn't seem to mind getting treated like dirt. And then you had Geraldine, this manipulative sociopath narcissist who's just looking for her next opportunity. And
so you took the woman who helped teach about Jesus through ventriloquism and made her a villain.
That's correct. Yes, but I tell everybody it's a fictional story.
There you go.
Some of it's true. When I started trying to write this song, I did a little research on Geraldine and Ricky, and the only thing I could find on them that was of any real significance was they were on the Bill Gaither Gospel Hour, and you know what that is?
You're going to have to.
Bill Gaither is?
Yes, I absolutely know who Bill Gaither is.
Bill Gaither has a television show called the Bill Gaither Hour. It's probably the biggest music show in the world, and she got to be on it. So that was the height of her fame, I think. But in the song, I put Bill Gaither. I paint him as a villain too because it says they made one appearance on the Bill Gaither show. They did a whole set, and then he let them go. They're on the CD, reunion number 9. They got them a lawyer, but they never saw a dime. So in the song, beautiful. Bill Gaither's a villain, too, because he stole their work and recorded them and then sold the CD with their material on it and didn't give them a dime.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Paul, do you prefer writing or performing?
I guess performing. Yeah. So it's writing songs is hard, man. It's I could write a song every day, but I don't. I wait till a really good idea comes, and I spend a lot of time waiting. And I keep a notepad in my back pocket and a big pen. I'm old school, and I just jot down things I hear all through the day, and then at the end of the day, I'll just review it, and some of it turns into a song sometimes.
That's incredible. Tell me about the boxing portion of your life. That I guess the biggest piece of that was when you fought Roberto Duran, and was that in Memphis or was that somewhere else?
No, it was in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay, in Atlantic City.
At the Tropicana Hotel and Casino. They have boxing match in casinos. Like big matches are mostly in casinos and stuff. Yeah, and but I was a very good boxer, but I was not a great boxer. There's a difference, and I could win at a certain level and could hold my own pretty good. Mm-hmm. But in '88, I got a chance to fight Roberto Duran. I was a top 10 contender at that time, and so I got this opportunity, and I went in there with him, and it was the thing that made him hard to fight. And I tell anybody this, and it's a surprise that they don't seem to, unless you've been in there, they don't seem to understand. But what made him special was not his punching power. Although he was called Hands of Stone, yes, he hit hard. But there's guys in a bar that can hit hard. I mean, there's guys across your street from where you live that can hit hard. But what made him special is he was incredibly hard to hit. His defense and ability to make you miss, that's what made him special.
Wow.
My God, if you threw, how if you put a magnet against another magnet, if you put it a certain way, the other magnet goes away instead of coming to?
Right.
That's exactly how it was trying to hit him. His face would be right in front of me, and I would throw that punch, and then right when I throw it, he would just effortlessly, just slightly back up and make me miss. And when they make you miss, a great fighter like that makes you miss, he makes you pay for it because he ducks under what you was trying to do, and it puts him even closer to cracking your jaw.
Ugh.
And that's what made him special. And it's also what made Duran enabled him to fight for such a long time. He fought for way past his prime, and towards the end, he got beat up by fighters he could have easily beaten years ago. But he had so much longevity because he never got hit. Everybody's been hit and cold-cocked a time or two, and he had too, but it was very rare that he ever even got hit with a clean punch. And so, I fought Duran, and I hung with him for 6 rounds. And after the 6th round, they stopped the fight because I had a horrific cut. Ugh. And during the fight, I didn't come in there to lay down because I busted his eye open, and I'm pretty happy about that. And we both, no joke, we both rode to the hospital in the same ambulance.
Oh wow!
He was laying on one side, and I was laying on one side, the other side, and even though I lost the fight. Well, let me just go back just for a second. After I fought Duran, I had 4 more fights after that. And I won them all, but they were all against lesser competition. They weren't Roberto Duran's. And so I sort of realized that that at some point I realized that I wasn't going to be a world champion. I just didn't have that little extra something that it takes to be one. And so I went back into my music. And, you run into naysayers, and they used to say, well, Paul, why did you quit boxing? And I just it's like that. But you know what? I didn't quit boxing. I took it as far as I could take it. And there's a big
there's something to be said for that. There's
a big
something
difference. I took it to the mountaintop. I gave it my shot, and a lot of fighters, they keep on fighting and they get punch drunk. And the reason a lot of them keep fighting is they don't have anything else to fall back on. They've spent their whole life trying to reach this goal, and they keep telling themselves, you know, if I train really hard, I can get back what I used to have, but you can't. So, you know, people like who are really great, like, you know, like Muhammad Ali, one of the great, probably the greatest of all time. He fought too long.
Father Time is undefeated. There's no question. Hey, have you got time to hang through the break and visit just for a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna continue the conversation with Paul Thorn. He chose, despite signing with a record label early on, to self-produce and self-release. We'll ask why. And then also, the name of an album back in 2010, Pimps and Preachers. There's got to be a story there. More of Mornings with Richard Cross right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
By the VCR every weekend, she puts him in the car.
What a unique voice, what a unique talent. Paul Thorn, that's the voice you hear, singer, songwriter, musician, and he's got a show coming up March 1st in Columbus, his only performance in Mississippi. Tickets still available for that online if you would like to see Paul Thorn in concert. We got a message, Paul, on our C-Spire text line says, they have a memory like you. I remember seeing Geraldine and Ricky at a tent revival in my early years. So they were certainly
there. You go.
Certainly making the rounds.
I'm running that everywhere I go. Since that song has come out, so many people in this, especially in the South, they remember Geraldine and Ricky. And so
that's awesome.
You know, on another note, since Geraldine passed last year, I am on a mission to find out where Ricky is, because he's either beloved by his family and put in a glass case on display, and they don't ever want to get rid of him, or he's in a sack in a closet somewhere being ignored. So I'm trying to find out what's going on with Ricky, because if Ricky could have a wonderful home with me, I'd love nothing more than to have Ricky in my family. But I don't know if that's possible or not. But if anybody listening to this, it knows where Ricky is, and if he's being mistreated, this must be stopped, because I want him to live out the rest of his days in a good spot.
In a place of honor. I have to ask you about this. Anybody in North Mississippi that spent any time in Tupelo has probably had a meal at Vanelli's somewhere at some point in their life. If not for Vanelli's, do we know who you are as a musician right now?
You know, it's unlikely. I mean, it's likely I would have never gotten into music business, because I used to, when I was in a previous season of my life, I was a factory worker, and I worked at a factory in Nettleton, Mississippi, and at night, a couple nights a week, I would play in this restaurant called Vanelli's.
Yeah.
And to make a long story short, like a lot of artists, I was sending cassette tapes out to anybody that I thought would notice my songwriting, and maybe I wanted to get in the music business. And I will make another long story short. Sting's manager, Miles Copeland, of Sting and the Police, got a copy of my cassette and liked my music and liked my songs, and sent a representative down to Vanelli's, of all places in Tupelo, on a night when I was playing in a corner just with my acoustic guitar. And when I took a break from playing, this guy said, "Hey, I work for Miles Copeland, and he wants to offer you a record deal and a publishing deal." And then within a couple of weeks, I quit my day job at People Lounge, where I've been working there for 12 years, and I got they gave me money. I mean, more money than I ever saw before, at the time, and I was able to quit my work. And being a minister's son, a Pentecostal minister's son, I wasn't allowed to go to secular concerts. So the very first concert I ever attended in my life, I was opening for Sting in Nashville.
That is unbelievable.
Well, and I didn't have a band. It was just me and my guitar. But, and everybody says, weren't you nervous? And honestly, I wasn't, because you have to keep in mind, I've been singing in front of people my entire life in church, so I was accidentally prepared. And whatever I did for that 30 minutes when I opened up for Sting, it really went well with the crowd. And so Sting liked me, and he invited me to go on tour with him after that. So I went on tour with Sting, and so
it's amazing.
And I didn't have a band or anything. And when those dates with Sting played out, this other artist heard about me. His name was Jeff Beck. He was a guitar player. You know who that is?
I do not know Jeff Beck. No.
Okay. Well, he was anyway. I'll tell you what. I'll just use another name.
Okay.
Which is another guy I toured with as well. I'll just replace him. Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, he heard about me, and he asked me would I go on tour with him, and so I get and then I wound up. I did a tour with him, and then I did a tour with Bonnie Raitt, and then I did a tour with John Prine. And what was happening is, even though when I was doing these shows as an opening act, a lot of those people, none of those people came to see me, basically. But what happened was I could go back to those same markets 6 months later, and a lot of those people that saw me with all those artists, they came back to see me on my own.
Awesome.
So I kind of built my audience on the shoulders of other artists who let me get in front of their crowd. And,
that's incredible. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I would beg that you would come back on so that we continue. There's so much more I want to ask you, but we're just out of time this morning, and I appreciate your time so very much.
Well, just make sure everybody tell everybody that March 1st I'm playing 2 shows at the Cromwell Theater in Columbus, Mississippi, a 5 o'clock show and an 8 o'clock show.
You heard it from Paul Thorn himself. March 1st, tickets still available online. Columbus, Mississippi, Cromwell Theater. 2 shows. Get your tickets. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.